I kept that diary locked away for 50 years. 50, that sounds crazy, right? But if you knew the promise I made, you'd understand. It was 1971. The war had already broken us inside. Daniel and I, we were more than soldiers. We were brothers. We'd laugh between gunfire, cry when no one was watching. And then, one morning, just before a mission, he handed me this small leather notebook. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "If I don't make it back, don't read it. Just keep it safe." I nodded, didn't say a word. 30 minutes later, he was gone. He died in my arms. No speech, no glory, just silence and blood and the sound of my heart breaking in a place I'd never find again. When I came home, I put that diary in a box, locked it, buried it deep in a closet, and for 50 years, I left it there, untouched, unopened, untold. I got married, had kids, worked, lived a whole life with a ghost whispering from behind a closet door. I never opened it, not once. Not even when I drank too much, not even on the nights I missed him so bad I couldn't breathe. Then one night, last winter, the box fell. The diary slipped out, and it opened. Inside was a single page I had never seen, folded, yellowed, faded, and on it, a name, Sarah. I said it out loud, like maybe the walls would answer. Sarah. Who are you? I almost closed the diary, almost shoved it back where it came from, but I didn't. I opened the letter. It was for his daughter. He had a daughter, one he never met. And the words he left for her, they shattered me. Days turned into weeks. I searched every morning, typing her name into every database I could find. Sarah Walters. Nothing, no last name, no photos. Just that one letter, written by a man who died before he ever got to meet his child. I reached out to old squad mates. Most were gone. Some just didn't answer. But one, Leonard, he remembered something. I think she lived in Jersey with her aunt. That was enough. I started digging through records, birth certificates, school yearbooks, old newspapers. Hours and hours of nothing until I found it. 1971, Newark, New Jersey. A baby girl named Sarah, mother, deceased, father, unknown. My heart stopped. It had to be her. An address popped up. A small house in Bloomfield. I wrote it down, grabbed the diary, and drove 3 hours without even thinking. When I got there, I didn't knock. I sat in my car, holding that diary like it was made of glass and fire at the same time. What was I gonna say? "Hi, I'm the guy who watched your father die." But then the front door opened. She stepped out, mid-40s, long dark hair, coffee mug in hand, eyes that looked tired but strong, and she looked right at me. Not past me, not through me, at me. She walked across the lawn, knocked on my window. "Can I help you?" I rolled it down. "I'm looking for someone named Sarah." She raised an eyebrow. "That's me. Do I know you?" I took a breath I hadn't known I was holding. "No, but I knew your father." Silence. She blinked. Once. Twice. "My father? Daniel Walters. We served together. In Vietnam." Her face went pale. Then she said words I'll never forget. "My mom never told me anything about him. I thought he left us." I reached over, held out the diary. He didn't. She didn't take the diary right away. She just looked at it, then at me, then back at it, like it might vanish if she blinked too hard. "Why now?" she asked. I held the diary in both hands. It felt heavier than it ever had before. "Because I found something," I said. "Something I wasn't supposed to until now." I reached inside and pulled out the letter. Her name, Sarah, written in shaky ink in the corner. I handed it to her, carefully, like it was holy. She stared at it. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. And then she whispered, "Can I read this alone?" I nodded. She stepped back onto the porch and sat down. I stayed near the car, gave her space. The air was still. Not a sound, not even birds. Like the world knew to be quiet. She opened the letter, and I watched her face change with every word. First confusion, then wonder, then grief. When she finished, she folded the paper slowly, pressed it to her chest, looked at the sky, and whispered, "Dad." She walked back toward me, eyes red, voice soft. "I always thought he abandoned us." My mom said, "He left, just left." I shook my head. "No, he died a hero. And he loved you, more than he ever had a chance to show." She hesitated, then asked, "Did you know him well?" "I knew him better than anyone," I said. "And I've been carrying that love for 50 years. She smiled through tears. "I don't even have a photo of him." I reached into my jacket, pulled out a small, creased photo. Daniel, standing in the sun, mud on his boots, smiling like he just told a joke. Her hands trembled as she took it. "This is the first time I've ever seen his face." "Now," I said, "you'll never forget it." For a while we just sat. No more words, just the sound of the wind and the weight of memory settling into place. Then she asked, "Did you ever read the diary?" I shook my head. I couldn't. I was afraid of what I'd find, afraid it would break me. She held it close, looked at it with calm strength. Then maybe we read it together. We sat on that porch and opened the first page. The ink was still there after all those years, his handwriting, his thoughts, frozen in time. He wrote about the war, the chaos, the heat, the fear. But in between the blood and the bullets, he wrote about her. "Sarah, I don't know what your favorite color will be. I don't know if I'll be around to walk you to school. But I love you. I love you more than the world knows how to measure." Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't look away, not once. Every word was a heartbeat, a memory that had never been lived, coming to life on that porch, 5 decades too late. At one point, she looked at me and said, "He never left me, did he?" I shook my head.
Amazing.
"No, he carried you with him into battle, every single day." She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that breaks you open. "I wish I could have met him," she said. "You just did," I replied. As the sun dipped below the trees, she stood up and walked inside, came back with a shoebox. Inside were baby photos, a silver bracelet, a hospital tag, and a letter from her mother, unopened. It was dated 1973. She read it out loud. "Sarah, your father didn't leave you. He was brave. He never got the chance to come home, but he loved you. I didn't know how to tell you until now." Her voice cracked, and we both sat there in silence, surrounded by a lifetime of love that had been waiting to be heard. When I stood to leave, she hugged me, and it wasn't a polite hug. It was a goodbye. It was a thank you. It was forgiveness. "You brought him back to me," she said. I got in my car, drove away with the windows down, and for the first time in 50 years, I didn't feel haunted. Because the truth is, Daniel did come home, not in a flag-draped coffin, but in ink, in memory, in love that never had the chance to speak. Until now, would you have opened the diary or kept it locked forever, like I did? If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Some promises don't fade, and some people never really leave us. Subscribe for more stories that deserve to be remembered.